Good afternoon, all of my sewing club members and anyone else who might be interested in joining us. My name is Lori Schuss, and I will be the leader of the sewing club here at Valencia, Bonita. I wanted to give you a heads up on some of the instruments and tools you might want to have in your own sewing box. For example, I went to Joann Fabrics, who have a tremendous supply of all kinds of sewing notions, equipment, and fabulous fabrics. You can get on their mailing list and they will send you coupons that will help you purchase the supplies that you might need. First of all, you need a place to put all of your tools and supplies. This is just an example of something I found at Joann's, a nice container, box, piece of Tupperware, original sewing kit, whatever it is that you want to keep your supplies in. Some of the basic things you might want to have are, first of all, a really good pair of sewing shears. Make sure these are scissors that nobody else uses for cutting paper and cardboard or any other types of materials. Your sewing shears should stay nice and sharp and be able to cut through any amount of thicknesses of fabrics. Joann's has a great display of different types of scissors. I happen to like this kind. They're spring-loaded so that you don't have to put your fingers in the holes of a pair of scissors. A lot of people like myself have arthritis, and putting your hands in the scissors might be a little more difficult. You also want to have a place to keep bobbins for your sewing machine if you have one. And by the way, we will be having a speaker from the local sewing store down in Naples, from Tops Sew and Vac. He will come and bring a variety of different sewing machines and sergers for you to see. You might even be able to get a great deal from him on the machines that he's bringing with him. And I'll be sure to let you know in advance when he'll be visiting our sewing club meeting. So bobbins are important for sewing machines. You also need a supply of some basic threads. These are basic colors you might use to put on a button or repair a torn garment that you might have, or just to have some basic ones, a small little set that might fit in your sewing box. You also need a tape measure. They come in different types, different quality of material. This one happens to be a vinyl one. Just make sure that it's a reversible one, that when you pick it up, you always pick it up from the end that starts with 1. They also have some that are in metric. If you're used to using metric system, you might want to use that. This is a sewing gauge. It allows you to measure small things with a sliding piece of plastic that allows you to measure, for instance, when you're doing a hem and you want the hem to be the same width and size all the way around the garment. This little gadget is really, really helpful for that. If your eyes are going as badly as mine are, you might also want to have needle threaders. These help you thread both a machine needle and a hand sewing needle. And speaking of hand sewing needles, you'll want to have a supply of different sizes. They used to call them different sharps. You might see sharp sizes on packages. Those just tell you how large or small the eye of the needle is. For those of you with arthritis like me, you may need some help pushing a hand needle through a thicker fabric. Thimbles come in handy for that. When we're working with fabrics, you need to use dressmaker pins that are sharp enough to go through your fabrics. There are different types of needles and pins that you'll see in the store. Quilting needles tend to be a little bit thicker, so you want a finer needle. A dressmaker needle, long needles are easier to handle, or needles that have a special end on them. These make them easier to pick up and grasp with your hands than the little silver ones that you're probably used to from sewing when you were a little girl. Whatever sewing machine you have, make sure that you have nice, sharp, new needles in them. They come in different sizes and, of course, for different brands. I happen to have Brother machines, so the Brother needles will fit mine perfectly. For simple repairs or for holding things together, you might also want some safety pins. You probably have some around the house. Hook them all together, put them in your sewing kit, and you'll know where they are at all times. There are other types of tape measures that you can use. This one happens to be a retractable one, which makes it easy and nice and neat to store. When When you're doing hand sewing, you might want to have a set of pre-threaded. These come in handy, especially when you're traveling, so that you don't have to take all of your threads with you. You can just take a few of your needles that are pre-threaded and ready to go for any emergency sewing that you might have. When you're cutting out fabrics and you're using patterns, or you're trying to clip fabrics together, instead of using pins, you can also use these great new Wonder Clips. Just clip them together with your fabrics and everything will stay in place nice and easily. When you've made a mistake and you need to rip something out, you'll also need a seam ripper. There are several different types you'll see in the store. They have small compact ones with a cap on them, or larger ones if that's easier for you to maneuver, but you'll definitely need a seam ripper. When you're making marks on fabrics, you can use these washable disappearing ink markers that are handy to have, small enough to store in your box, and they are very useful when you need to mark where lines are on a pattern or cutting marks, things like that. These come in handy a lot of times. Then for us who need a little help threading the needle, this is also used as a needle threader for your sewing machine, and it also helps you insert the needles the correct way into your sewing machine. These are really, really handy. Our next meeting on October 14th at 4 p.m. will be in our beautiful new social hall. Bring your sewing kit if you have one made up already. This will give you time if you need to go to Joann's or any other craft store, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, even carry some sewing supplies as well. Bring those supplies with you and we will get started on our first project. I think because so many people are making masks nowadays, I think that will be our first project. I have some extra fabrics I'll bring. If you have some fabrics you would like to bring, please do so. If you have enough to share with others, that would be fabulous. So we'll see you on Wednesday, October 14th at 4 o'clock in the social hall. If you need to reach me, my phone number is 732-266-4309, or you can email me at quartet20@yahoo.com. That's QUARTET20@yahoo.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the Sewing Club. Bye for now.